धार्मिक गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रशत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रशत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रशत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रशत शिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रशत शिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपनो गौरिया गुरु वार्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। One second. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Name. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang pravrajantamanupetamapettya krityang dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedustang sarvabhuta hridayang munimanatosmi narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shrinvatang Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. Nashta Prayesh Pabadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya radhe tvang nayamang charanadhyam Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Shiptashtakamaदिttarangamadhe Kripa Maitwang Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's see, who's all here now? Hey. Dandavat Pranam, Sarup Manjari Didi, and Ganga Didi, and Gargaraji, Madhavi Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantra Murthy Mataji, Kishore Prabhu. It's been a while, Kishore Prabhu. Great to see you here. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and Indira Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. I didn't realize, but Indira Mataji's been following along this whole time with every single class. My parents just told me the other day, and so Dandavat Pranams to Indira Mataji. Actually, I think she's traveling today to Spain. So, but anyways, yeah, once she's back in India, she'll probably be following live with us again. So yesterday we read the first 12 verses, very sweet verses, all about the cowherd boys' play. So I'll just read the translations up to where we are now. Shukadev Goswami continued. O king, one day Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bugle made of horn and woke all the cowherd boys and calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of calves before them, proceeded from Vrajabhumi to the forest. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Vrajabhumi and joined Krishna, keeping before them hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. Along with the cowherd boys and their own groups of calves, Krishna came out with an unlimited numbers of calves assembled. Then all the boys began to sport in the forest in a greatly playful spirit. Although all these boys were already decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals. All the boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. I love this one. All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When a boy came to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh, and the proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned. Sometimes, Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, "I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first." In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, and others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs. And when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for Gyanis desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for the devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who for ordinary persons is but an ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yam, niyam, asana, and pranayam, none of which are easily performed. Yet, in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Vrajbhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? Okay, so that's where we read up to yesterday. One second. Okay. Ataganama mahasuras tesham sukha kridana vikshana kshama nityang yadantar nijajivite subhi pitamritar apyamarai pratikshate. My dear King Parikshit, thereafter there appeared a great demon named Aghāsura, whose death was being awaited even by the demigods. The demigods drank nectar every day, but still they feared this great demon and awaited his death. This demon could not tolerate the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed in the forest by the cowherd boys. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One may ask how Krishna's pastimes could be interrupted by a demon. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur answers this question by saying that although the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed by the cowherd boys could not be stopped, unless they stopped the transcendental pleasure of their various activities, they could not eat their lunch. Therefore, at lunchtime, Aghāsura appeared by the arrangement of Yoga Maya, so that for the time being, they could stop their activities and take lunch. Changing varieties are the mother of enjoyment. Changing varieties are the mother of enjoyment. The cowherd boys would continuously play, then stop, and then enjoy in a different way. Therefore, every day a demon would come and interrupt their sporting pastimes. The demon would be then the demon would be killed. The demon would be killed, and then the boys would engage again in their transcendental pastimes. That's just every day some other demon would come in the middle of the games, kill him, and then they'd resume playing. Such a unique life, huh? What is it? Sometimes I'd see a thing painted on walls and stuff here. Variety is the spice of life. Okay. Drishtvar bhakam Krishna mukhan Aghāsura Kangsanushishta swabaki bakanuja Ayam tume so daranasha kritayor Tvayor mamainam sabalang hanishye. Aghasura, who had been sent by Kamsa, was the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura. Therefore, when he came and saw Krishna at the head of all the cowherd boys, he thought, "This Krishna has killed my sister and brother, Putana and Bakasura. Therefore, in order to please them both, I shall kill this Krishna, along with his assistants, the other cowherd boys." Ete yada matsuhridostilapa kritastada nashta samavrajokasa prane gate varshmasuka nuchinta prajasava prana bhrito hiete. Aghasura thought, if somehow or other I can make Krishna and his associates serve as the last offering of sesame and water for the departed souls of my brother and sister, then the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi, for whom these boys are the life and soul, will automatically die. If there's no life, then there's no need for the body. Consequently, when their sons are dead, naturally, all the inhabitants of Vraj will die. My God, evil. That's so evil. My God. Anyways. Iti vyavasa jagaram briharvapu sayojanayama mahadripi varam dhritvadbhutam vyata guhananang tada pati vyasheta grasanashaya kala. Have you ever heard of a villain in any movie or any kind of thing, any evil person, and their target was kids? They just wanted to kill kids so that they could kill everybody else? That's a whole other level of evil. Translation. After thus deciding that crooked Aghasura assumes the form of a huge python, as thick as a big mountain and as long as 8 miles. Having assumed this wonderful python's body, he spread his mouth like a big cave in the mountains and lay down on the road, expecting to swallow Krishna and his associates, the cowherd boys. Haribol, say Shri Mataji, Rukmini Didi, and Sudevi Didi. Haribol. Dharadharoshto jaladottaroshto dharanananto girishringadangstara dvantantarasyo vitatadvajiva parushanila shvasaddavikshanukshana. His lower lip rested on the surface of the earth, and his upper lip was touching the clouds in the sky. The borders of his mouth resembled the sides of a big cave in a mountain, and in the middle of his mouth was as dark as possible. His tongue resembled a broad traffic way. His breath was like a warm wind, and his eyes blazed like fire. Drishtva tam tadrisham sarve matva vrindavana shriyam vyata jagaratundena hyut prekshante smalilaya. Upon seeing this demon's wonderful form, which resembled a great python, the boys thought that it must be a beautiful scenic spot of Vrindavan. Thereafter, they imagined it to be similar to the mouth of a great python. In other words, the boys, unafraid, thought it was a statue made in the shape of a great python for the enjoyment of their pastimes. Of course it was made for the enjoyment of their pastimes. Everything's meant for play. Purpose. Some of the boys, upon seeing this wonderful phenomenon, thought it was in fact a python, and they were fleeing from the spot. But others said, "Why are you fleeing? It's not possible that a python like this is staying here. This is a spot of beauty for sporting." This is what they imagined. That's how children see everything, though. Everything is meant for playing, is meant for their play, right? Sorry, I should turn off this Discord thing. I always get curious to see what's... if anybody hasn't done so already, feel free to join our Discord. We have daily Bhagavatam thing here and Rupa Shiksha, special spot for holy days, and all sorts of other things. It's our, Vine of Devotion Discord server. All right, 1 second. Let me just... Okay. Aho mitrani gadata sattva kutam purastitam asmat sangrasana vyata vyalatundayate nava. The boy said, "Dear friends, is this creature dead, or is it actually a living python with its mouth spread wide just to swallow us all? Kindly clear up this doubt." Purport. The friends began to discuss among themselves the reality of the wonderful creature laying before them. Was it dead, or was it actually a living python trying to swallow them up? Satyam arka kararaktam uttara hanuvarghanam adhara hanuvarodhas tat prati chayayarunam. Thereafter they decided, "Dear friends, this is certainly an animal sitting here to swallow us all. Its upper lip resembles a cloud reddened by the sunshine, and its lower lip resembles the reddish shadows of a cloud. Pratispardhete srikyabhyam savya savye nagodare tunga shringalayo petas tadangshtara. On the left and right, the two depressions resembling mountain caves are the corners of its mouth, and the high mountain peaks are its teeth. Astritayam amargoyam rasanang pratigarjati esham antargatam dvantam etarapyantarananam. In length and breadth, the animal's tongue resembles a broad traffic way, and the inside of its mouth is very, very dark, like a cave in a mountain. Davoshna karavatoyam shvasavar bhati pashyata tad dagdha satadurgandho pyantar amisha gandavat. Amisha gandha, meat smell. The hot fiery wind is the breath coming out of its mouth, which is giving off the bad smell of burning flesh because of all the dead bodies he has eaten. So let's go play there. Asman kimatra grasita nivishtan ayang tatacher bhagavar vinangshati kshanad aneneti pakaryushan mukhan vikshodha santa karatadaner yayu. The boy said, Has this living creature come to swallow us? If he does so, he'll immediately be killed like Aghāsura without delay." Thus they looked at the beautiful face of Krishna, the enemy of Aghāsura, and laughing loudly and clapping their hands, they entered the mouth of the python. That's a whole other level of what is it? One of the six limbs of Sharanagati. Rakshishyatiti Vishva. Yeah, Rakshishyatiti Vishvaso. Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishvas Palan. Palan. Look, this animal wants to kill us. Let's jump into its mouth. That's like active Rakshishyatiti Vishvaso. Purport. After talking about the terrible animal this way and that way, they decided to enter the demon's mouth. They had full faith in Krishna because they had experienced how Krishna had saved them from the mouth of Aghāsura. Now here was another Asura, Aghāsura. Therefore, they wanted to enjoy the sport of entering the demon's mouth and being saved by Krishna, the enemy of Aghāsura. I love this. Those are some real boys. Okay. Itang mito tat. Let me just see. Itang mito tatyam atajgya bhashitam shrutva chinte tamsha mrishayate raksho viditva kila bhutatritstita swanang nirodhum bhagavan manodadhe. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is situated as Antaryami, the Supersoul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghāsura, a demon who had appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. I think it's kind of neat how Aghāsura knew that the cowherd boys would be attracted to play inside him. But like he knew that just by taking the form of a big python and opening its mouth, that all the cowherd boys would want to run inside and play there. He knew them well, huh? Tava pravishtas tasur surodarantaram parang nagirna shishava savatsa pratikshamanena pakariveshanam hatta sakanta smaranena rakshasa. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. Krishna is like, this Rakshasya Titi Vishvaso, this trust that I'm always going to protect him is starting to get a bit out of hand. Tambiksha Krishna Sakala Bhaya Prado Yananyanatan Svakarad Avachutan Dinangscha Mrityor Jataragni Ghasam Grenadito Dishta Kritena Vismita. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys who did not know anyone but him as their lord had now gone out of his hands and were helpless, having entered like straws into a fire of the abdomen of Aghāsura, who is death personified. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys. Therefore, as if seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and unsure of what to do. Kritam kimastrasya, atrasya kalasya jivanam nava amisham chasatang vihingsanam dvayam katam syad iti sang vichintya gyatva vishat tundam asheshadrighari. Now, what has to be done? How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then he entered the mouth of Aghāsura. Purport. Krishna is known as Ananta Virya Sarvagya because everything is known to him. Because he knows everything perfectly well, it was not difficult for him to find a means by which he could save the boys and at the same time kill the demon. Thus, he also decided to enter the demon's mouth. Tada ghana chada deva payadha heti chukrushu jahrishur ye chakang sadhya ko napaswagabandhava. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghāsura, the gods hated him. But the friends of Aghāsura, like Kamsa and other demons, were jubilant. That's interesting. Kamsa and other demons were all watching somehow, huh? Or somehow they knew about it. I wonder if they had some special technology. Tachrutva Bhagavan Krishnas Tvavyaya Sarvatsakam Churni Chikir Shuratmanam Tarasava Vride Gale. When the invincible Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas," from behind the clouds, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat just to save himself and the cowherd boys, his own associates, from the demon who wished to smash them. Purport. Such are the acts of Krishna. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkatam. By enlarging himself within the throat of the demon, Krishna suffocated and killed him at the same time. He suffocated and killed him, and at the same time, himself and his associates from imminent death, and also saved the demigods from lamentation. Tato tikayasya niruddhamargino hyudgirna drishter brahmatas tvitastata purnon tarange pavano niruddho murdhan vinirvidya vinirgato bahi. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breathing stopped, he suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there, and can't make the noise anyways, and popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. Tenaiva sarveshu bahirgateshu praneshu vatsan suhrida paretan drishta swayotapya taranvita punar bhaktran mukundo bhagavan viniryayo. It's the second demon whose eyes popped out. When all the demon's life air had passed away through that hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them back to life. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out from the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. Pinahi bhogotitam arbhutam mahaj Jyotis Vadhamna Jwalaya Disho Dasha Pratikshake Vastitam Isha Nirgamam viveshatasmin mishatam divokasam. From the body of the gigantic python, a glaring effulgence came out, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Purport. Apparently, the serpent named Aghāsura, because of having received association with Krishna, attained mukti by entering Krishna's body. Entering the body of Krishna is called Sayujya Mukti, but later verses prove that Aghāsura, like Dantavakra and others, received Sarupya Mukti. This has been broadly described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur with references from Vaishnav Toshani of Srila Jiva Goswami. Aghāsura attained Sarupya Mukti, being promoted to the Vaikuntha planets. Aghāsura attained Sarupya Mukti, being promoted to the Vaikuntha planets to live with the same four-armed bodily features as Vishnu. The explanation of how this is so may be summarized as follows. That's so interesting though, because I always heard that Aghāsura got Sayujya Mukti. One second, I want to look something up. I'll check this out. The effulgence came out from the python's body and became purified, attaining spiritual Shuddha Sattva, freedom from material contamination, because Krishna had stayed within the serpent's body, even after the serpent's death. One may doubt that such a demon full of mischievous activities could attain the liberation of Sarupya or Sayujya, and one would be astonished about this. But Krishna is so kind that in order to drive away such doubts, he had effulgence, the individual life of the python, wait for some time in its individuality in the presence of all the demigods. Krishna is the full effulgence, and every living being is part and parcel of that effulgence. As proved here, the effulgence in every living being is individual. For some time, the effulgence remained outside the demon's body, individually, and did not mix with the whole effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahman effulgence is not visible to the material eyes, but to prove that every living being is individual, Krishna had this individual effulgence stay outside the demon's body for some time for everyone to see. Then Krishna proved that anyone killed by him attains liberation, whether Sayujya, Sarupya, Samipya, or whatever. But the liberation of those who are on the transcendental platform of love and affection is vimukti, special liberation. They're not just liberated from the material, it's not just negative being liberated from material energy, but they also get something. They get Krishna, positive. So it's a special liberation. Thus, the serpent first entered the body of Krishna personally and mixed with the Brahman effulgence. This merging is called Sayujya Mukti. But from later verses, we find that Aghāsura attained Sarupya Mukti. Text 38 explains that Aghāsura attained a body exactly like that of Vishnu. And the verse after that also clearly states that he attained a completely spiritual body like that of Narayan. Therefore, in 2 or 3 places in the Bhagavatam has confirmed that Aghāsura attained Sarupya Mukti. One may then argue, how is it that he mixed with the Brahman effulgence? The answer is that as Jaya and Vijay, after 3 births, again attains Sarupya Mukti and the association with the Lord, Aghāsura received a similar liberation. This is a question I had actually kind of recently. Does anybody actually ever really attain Sayujya Mukti? Or just merging into the Brahman effulgence? Yeah, that's my question, because sometimes I've heard, but I can't remember. I think it's one of our acharyas. I can't remember which one or where, but they say that sometimes Narada Muni goes through the Brahma Jyoti. He like travels around the Brahma Jyoti playing his veena, and he liberates the everybody who's merged there, he makes them individual again. So like people don't actually fully merge. It's like they're merging, but it's not. But I don't know know any authoritative source for that. Like anybody has anybody else heard that? And I'm just curious about Sayuja Mukti. I remember reading something. Is it along you? Oh, okay, oops. 1 second. I think I remember reading something about this. What's to say? There are those. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sartha commentary in Bhagavad Gita, he's mentioned 4 kinds of practitioners who cultivate exclusive jnana, or Brahma jnana. Those people who think that jnana alone, devoid of bhakti, is competent to give mukti, except profuse tribulation in their practice of cultivating jnana. In essence, what they attain is tribulation and tribulation alone. Such people are greatly condemned. This verse previously discussed comments on these jnanis. Then there are those who practice jnana that's mixed with bhakti, upon seeing the scriptural passion. Okay, and then there are those among the guild of jnanis who practice jnana mixed with bhakti and consider the form of bhagavan comprised. They alone, upon dispelling okay, wait, no, this isn't what I was looking for. Anyways, I'll look through this later. I think this is it. Anyway, sorry, I'm wasting time. Okay. No, there's a really good quote in here. Anyways, I'll look afterwards. Yeah, here, this is what I'm looking for. Merging with the form of the Lord, Ishwar Sayuja, is even more lamentable than merging with the featureless aspect of the Lord, Brahma Sayuja. Because while Nirvishesh Brahma contains no variety, the form of the Lord is the abode of innumerable variegated qualities, forms, and pastimes, and the jivas who merge with him are deprived of relishing that variety. Who is more unfortunate than one who lives inside a storehouse of honey, yet remains of tasting even a drop of it? Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 269 states, Brahma Sayuja Hote Ishvara Sayuja Dikar. Merging with the form of the Lord is even more pitiable than merging with his bodily effulgence. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Let me just check the comments. Haribo, Vipul, and Rajbhuvan Yadav. Tato tirishta swakrito kritarhanam pushpai suga apsarasashchanartanai Gitai suravada dharashtavadakai stavaishcha vipra jayani svanargana. Thereafter, everyone being pleased, the demigods began to shower flowers from Nandakanan. The celestial dancing girls began to dance, and the Gandharvas, who are famous for their singing, offered songs of prayer. The drummers began to beat their kettle drums, and the Brahmins offered Vedic hymns. In this way, both in the heavens and on earth, everyone began to perform his own duties, glorifying the Lord. Purport. Everyone has some particular duty. The Shastra has concluded, Nirupita, that everyone should glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his own qualifications. If you are a singer, always glorify the Supreme Lord by singing very nicely. If you are a musician, glorify the Supreme Lord by playing musical instruments. Cool. I like this purport. I'm going to save this. Will I lose this now? Cool. Cool. I'm going to... What verse is this? 34. 10, 12, 34 purport. Okay. Sorry, where was I? Sorry, guys. If you are a singer, always glorify the Lord by singing very nicely. If you're a musician, glorify the Supreme Lord by playing musical instruments. Swanushtitasya dharmasya sangsidir haritoshanam. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-13. The perfection of life is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, beginning from this earth up to the celestial kingdom, everyone engaged in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The decision of all great saintly persons is that whatever qualifications one has acquired should be utilized to glorify the Supreme Lord. Idang hi pungsas tapasa shutasya va svishtasya suktasya chabuddhi dattayo avichyutartha kavibir nirupito yaruttama shloka gunarnuvarnanam. Learned sages have definitely concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, austerity, big study, sacrifice, the chanting of hymns, and charity is found in the transcendental descriptions of the qualities of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:5-22. This is the perfection of life. One should be trained in how to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's respective qualities. Education, austerity, penance, or in the modern world, business, industry, education, and so on, all should be engaged in glorifying the Lord. Then everyone in the world will be happy. I like this purport. Krishna comes to exhibit his transcendental activities so that people may have the chance to glorify him in every respect. To understand how to glorify the Lord is actual research work. It is not that everything should be understood without God. That is condemned. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastram Japas Tapa Apranasyaiva Dehasya Mandanam Loka Ranjanam. That's Hari Bhakti Sudadoy 3:11. Without Bhagavad Bhakti, without glorification of the Supreme Lord, whatever we have is simply a decoration of a dead body. Text 35. Oops. Parvutastotra suvadyagitika jayadinaikotsava mangalasvanan shrutva sadhamnon jaga agato chirad drishtva mahishasya jagama vismayam. When Lord Brahma heard the wonderful ceremony going on near his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jai, 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 he immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. Purport. Here the word anti means near, indicating that even in the higher planetary systems near Brahmaloka, like Mahaloka, Janaloka, and Tapaloka, the festival of glorification of Lord Krishna was going on. Rajan ajagarang charma Shushkam Vrindavanir Vrajokasam Bahutitam Babhuva Gavaram. It's just a thought that came in my head. It's kind of funny that the cowherd boys are just simple boys that like to play with Krishna and like they're just, but they're so famous in all the different planetary systems. They're probably everybody's like keeping track what's going on with Subal and Sridham, and they're famous throughout the three worlds, but they're completely oblivious. O King Parikshit, when the python-shaped body of Aghāsura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavan to visit. and it remains so for a long, long time. Hey, let's go check out, let's go see the Aghāsura. It's like a site. Etat kumajaram karma harer atma hi mokshanam mrityopo gandake bala drishtvo chur vismita vraje. This incident of Krishna saving himself and his associates from death and of giving deliverance to who had assumed the form of a python took place when Krishna was 5 years old. It was disclosed in Vrajbhumi after 1 year, as if it had taken place on that very day. I wonder why that is. This leads into the next pastime. Purport. The word mokshanam means liberation. For the associates of Krishna and for Krishna himself, there is no question about liberation. They are already liberated, being in the spiritual world. In the material world, there are birth, death, old age, and disease. But in the spiritual world, there are no such things because everything is eternal. And for the python, however, by the association of Krishna and his devotees, Aghāsura also achieved the same facility of eternal life. Therefore, as indicated here by the word Atmahi Mokshanam, if the python Aghāsura could receive eternal association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are already associates of the Lord? Sakam Vijahru Krita Punya Punja, at Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10, 12, 11. Here is proof that God is good for everyone, even when he kills someone, and the one who attains liberation. What then is to be said of those who are already in the association of the Lord? Naita Chitram Manujarbama Paravaranam Paramasya Vedhasa Aghopiyat Sparshanadhotapataka Prapatma Samyam Twasatang Sudurlabam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. The causes and effects of the material world, both higher and lower, are all created by the Supreme Lord, the original controller. When Krishna appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, he did so by his causeless mercy. Consequently, for him to exhibit his unlimited opulence was not at all wonderful. Indeed, he showed such great mercy that even Aghāsura, the most sinful miscreant, was elevated to being one of his associates and achieving Sarupya Mukti, which is actually impossible for materially contaminated persons to attain. Purport. The word Maya is also used in connection with love. Out of Maya, out of love, a father has affection for his child. Therefore, the word Mayina indicates that Krishna, out of love, appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj and assumed the form of a human child, Manu Jarbha. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the creator of cause and effect, and he is the supreme controller. Nothing is impossible for him. Therefore, that he enabled even a living being like Aghāsura to attain the salvation of Sarupya Mukti was not at all wonderful for Krishna. Krishna took pleasure in entering the mouth of Aghāsura in a sporting spirit along with his associates. Therefore, when Aghāsura, by that sporting association, as maintained in the spiritual world, was purified of all contamination, he attained Sarupya Mukti and Vimukti by the grace of Krishna. For Krishna, this was not at all wonderful. Sakridyadanga pratimantarahita manomai bhagavatim dadhogatim sa eva niyatma sukhanubhutyabhi vyudastamayon targato hiking puna. If even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by mercy of Krishna, as did Aghāsura. And is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears in incarnation, are those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Purport. The process for receiving the favor of the Supreme Knowledge of Godhead is described here. Yatpada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya. It's Bhagavatam 4:22-39. Simply by thinking Krishna, one can attain him very easily. Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of his devotees. Bhagavan bhakta hridistita. In the case of Aghāsura, one may argue that he was not a devotee. The answer to this is that he thought of Krishna for a moment with devotion. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. Without devotion, one cannot think of Krishna. And conversely, whenever one thinks of Krishna, one undoubtedly has devotion. Although Aghāsura's purpose was to kill Krishna, for a moment, Aghāsura thought of Krishna with devotion, and Krishna and his associates wanted to sport within Aghāsura's mouth. Similarly, Putana wanted to kill Krishna by poisoning him, but Krishna took her as his mother because he had accepted the milk of her breast. Salpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Salpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. It's Bhagavad Gita 2:40. Especially when Krishna appears as an avatar, anyone who thinks of Krishna in his different incarnations, Ramadi Murtashi Kalaniyamena Tishtan, and especially in his original form as Krishna, attains salvation. There are many instances of this, and among them is Aghāsura, who attained the salvation of Sarupya Mukti. Therefore, the process is Saktayantamam Yatantash Chadridavrata. It's Bhagavad Gita 9:14. Those who are devotees always engage in glorifying Krishna. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to all his avatars, such as Krishna, Govinda, Narayan, Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balaram, and Shama Sundar. One who always thinks of Krishna must attain Vimukti, special salvation, as the Lord's personal associate, not necessarily in Vrindavan, but at least in Vaikuntha. This is called Sarupya Mukti. Shri Sutta Uvacha Itam Dijayadava Deva Datta Shrutva Swaratushcharitam Vichitram Prapacha Bhuyo Pitareva Punyam Vayasaking Yan Nigrihita Chetaha. Anyways, I don't get this. If someone says that the seed of bhakti and your swarup and everything is given by guru, then that means that a guru will want to make one disciple a gopi, and another disciple is like, I feel like making this person just in Vaikuntha. That's kind of like the Prabhupada is saying that person might go to Vaikuntha. Anyways, whatever. Sri Sutta Goswami said, O learned saints, the childhood pastimes of Sri Krishna are very wonderful. Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing about those pastimes of Krishna, who had saved him in the womb of his mother, became steady in his mind and again inquired from Shukadev Goswami to hear about those pious activities. Shirajovacha Brahmam Kalantara Kritam Tatkalinam Katang Bhavet Yat Komare Hari Kritang Jaghupo Gandakir Bhaka. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, O great sage, how could things done in the past have been described as being done at the present? Lord Shri Krishna performed this pastime of killing Aghāsura during his Komara age. How then, during his Poganda age, could the boys have described this incident as having happened recently? Tadbruhi me mahayogin param kotuhalam guru nunamitad dharir eva maya bhavanti nanyata. O greatest yogi, my spiritual master, kindly describe why this happened. I'm very much curious to know about it. I think that it was nothing but another illusion to Krishna. Should we end here? Or should we finish this up? What time is it? It's 8:36. Let's just finish it. Tadbruhi me mahayogin param kotuhalam guru nunamita dharireva. Oh, I just read that. Maya bhavati nanda. Oh, greatest yogi, my spiritual master, kindly describe why this happened. I'm very much curious to know about it. I think it was nothing but another allusion to Krishna. Right. Purport. Krishna has many potencies. Parasya Shaktir Vividayava Shriyate. That's Shweta Shvatar Upanishad 6:8. The description of Aghāsura was disclosed after 1 year. Some act of Krishna's potency must have been involved. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was very curious to know about this, and he requested Shukadev Goswami to explain it. Vayang dhanyatama loke gurupi kshatra bandhava vayampi bhamamuhus tvata punyam Krishna katamritam. O my Lord, my spiritual master, although we are the lowest of Kshatriyas, we are glorified and benefited because we have the opportunity of always hearing from you the nectar of the pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. The pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very confidential. It is not ordinarily possible to hear such activities unless one is very, very fortunate. Parikshit Maharaj placed himself as Kshatra Bandhava, which means the lowest of the Kshatriyas. The qualities of the Kshatriya are described in Bhagavad Gita, and although the general quality of the Kshatriya is Ishvara Bhav, the tendency to rule, a Kshatriya is not supposed to rule over a Brahman. Thus, Maharaj Parikshit regretted that he had wanted to rule over the Brahman and had therefore been cursed. He considered himself the lowest of the Kshatriyas. Dhanam Ishvara Bhavas Kshatriya Karma Swabhavajam. Bhagavad Gita 43. There is no doubt that Maharaj Parikshit had the good qualities of a Kshatriya, but as a devotee, he presented himself with submissiveness and humility as the lowest of the Kshatriyas, remembering his act of wrapping a dead serpent around the neck of a Brahman. A student and disciple has the right to ask the Guru about any confidential service, and it is the duty of a Guru to explain these confidential matters to his disciple. Shri Sutta Uvacha Idam Sma Prishta Satu Bhadarayanish Tad Smaritananta Hrita Kilendriya Krichrat Punar Labda Bahir Drishi Shanai Pratyahatam Bhagavatotamam. Sutta Goswami said, O Shanak, greatest of saints and devotees, when Maharaj inquired from Shukadev Goswami in this way, Shukadev Goswami, immediately remembering the subject matters about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost contact with the actions of his senses. Thereafter, with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception and began to speak to Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna Katha. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th chapter, 10th canto, 12th chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled the killing of the demon Aghāsura. So next chapter, right? Chapter 13 is the last Srila Prabhupada's purports, isn't it? So, well, we're going to read this not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this 12th chapter. But yeah, I think we only have like probably 2 or 3 more days, or I don't know how long chapter 13 is, but not so much more of Srila Prabhupada's purports, which is kind of sad. But we will, yeah, maybe after this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam program, we can start Chaitanya Charitamrita or something. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashta Rashta Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashta Rashta Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Sorry, Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Gosai Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shri Aghāsura Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Nama Chai Shri Hairas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Mandal, Coromandal, Vrimandal, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Sarva Vishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Shri Agadam Chandra ki Jai. Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jai. Ananta Kurti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Alright, see you all tomorrow for Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this chapter.